Okay, I'm going to be sharing my screen. Let me know if it's visible to all of you.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so what we are going to be studying today is we are going to have a look at some of the popular blockchain platforms and kind of understand the difference between them. So what is it that differentiates blockchain platforms from each other? And then we'll also try to understand what is the use case that a particular application or a blockchain is doing. So the first thing, obviously, I'd like to begin with is Ethereum. So I'm sure all of you have heard about Ethereum. There's absolutely no doubt on that. But what is it that it really does? Let's try to take a deeper dive. So when we talk about Ethereum, the first thing to remember is Ethereum is not a blockchain. Ethereum is a protocol. I'm not sure if we've covered that part before. Have we discussed that part before? Can someone just type in a yes, no?
No, I don't think so.
Great. So what do I mean by this? So
we discussed it as a protocol, and you said that before.
Okay.
It's a protocol, yes.
So when we say protocol, a protocol is a way of doing things. So when we talk about the internet, it works on the TCP/IP, Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol, or we browse the web using HTTP or HTTPS, that's Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So similarly, Ethereum is a protocol. There are multiple blockchains that run on the Ethereum protocol. So I mentioned the names of some of them here. So one is called mainnet. That is the publicly available production blockchain where most of us do our business on, or we do transactions on it. Now, let me just quickly show you. So if you look at the MetaMask browser, the wallet, can you see the MetaMask wallet here on my screen? Is it visible?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So now when we talk about it, we can look here and it supports multiple blockchains. And here you will notice some of the names are the same which are here. So Ethereum, there are 4 test nets working on it and 1 production. So whatever we do on the mainnet is real money. What we do on the others is not actual ETH. Those are just trial tokens to understand and test and use the Ethereum blockchain. So you have 1 testnet which runs on a particular consensus mechanism, proof of work, some on proof of authority, we don't care. But accounts are not transferable between them. So if you have a balance in one, it doesn't automatically go into the second blockchain. They are distinct blockchains, all running on the Ethereum protocol. Is that part clear? Clear?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
Now let's try to understand, when we look at Ethereum, now Ethereum is considered the most powerful DeFi platform. That is the decentralized finance platform. So let me kind of show you how it compares with the others. Okay. So when we look at the various protocols that are there, are you able to read my screen or is it not clear?
It's clear.
Okay. Clear. Now, when we look at it, so, okay, because of the black, the rest of the text isn't readable to me, but okay. When we look at Ethereum, we realize that the total value locked. So whenever we talk about decentralized blockchains, the number 1 metric that we use to say whether it is bigger than the others is total value locked, which means what is the total value of the assets that are now running in that blockchain. And that figure is called TVL. And we can see for Ethereum, it's 170 billion. Whereas for the next one, which is Binance, is only about 19 billion. So you can see the massive difference between the two. It's like multiple times larger than the other platforms. So these are some of the top DeFi platforms: Ethereum, Binance, Solana, Avalanche, Terra, and it goes on. Now, obviously, one question you must, yeah, Smash, tell me.
Sorry, Rohit, you can complete and then I can.
Sure. So one thing which you would obviously wonder is what's the difference? Why do we need so many different DeFi platforms in the world? I mean, if you see this list, it goes on really long. So why do we need so many? We don't. So I believe over a period of time, a lot of these blockchains will kind of die out and very few will remain. So today when I look at it, I can see that I usually will take it seriously if it's got at least $1 billion of assets locked into that particular protocol or blockchain. So we can see that beyond Terra, then we have Tron, Phantom, Polygon, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, Arbitrum. So these are some of the top ones. And now we can also see, if we go into one, we begin to see that there are different protocols that run in it. So when we talk about Ethereum, there are a lot of protocols running. So one of them is called Curve. And here we can see that that has about 19 billion in terms of value locked. Then we have MakerDAO that has 18 billion. So these can be considered to be some of the use cases running on it. And obviously, the more the use cases, the more the value of money involved in those, the more that blockchain is likely to remain in the long run. So despite Ethereum having a high transaction fee today, despite the fact that it's very slow, it is still popular. And that's why we see about $180 billion of value which is locked into the platform. Is that part clear? Any questions?
Yes, Rohit. I have one question.
Sure.
So when we say total value logged, all these blockchains are essentially digital ledger with transactions, with credits and debits. So when we extract value from these transactions, is it at the transaction level?
That's a good
value
question. Yeah, that's a good question. No, it's not like that. So let me give you an example. So you see this thing called WBTC. Now, WBTC is wrapped Bitcoin. Okay, so it is an ERC20 token, which is backed by Bitcoin. So now Bitcoin is on its own blockchain, but many people on the Ethereum platform want to work around Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin cannot directly connect because we don't have that interoperability. So someone has locked Bitcoin here, and against it, they have issued the equivalent amount of wrapped Bitcoin. But those are not transactions which are happening all the time. But because the total amount of wrapped Bitcoin is about $13.89 billion, we say WBTC has got that much of value locked in it. So these are not transactions. When you talk about the word transactions, then we will talk about the concept of volume. I think we've discussed it before. Let me just open it up. So when we look at Ethereum and we see this figure called volume. So here we can see $19 billion. What does that mean? The amount of Ethereum or ETH which has changed hands in the last 24 hours is 19 billion. Very different from saying that a certain amount of WBTC has been issued as an asset. Do you get the difference?
Yes, correct.
Awesome. Now let's try to take a little deeper dive into Ethereum. So like I told you, we have multiple blockchains. Then these are some of the top protocols or DeFi solutions running on it, all of which have at least $1 billion in value. So these are the ones. Otherwise, there are about 100 more, but they're quite small. So that's an entire list here. Then we realize that, okay, there is a stack. So how do we implement Ethereum, right? So right at the bottom, we have what we call as a layer 1. So it gives us this Ethereum virtual machine where we are running smart contracts, for example. So that machine is here and smart contracts are running next. And then we have nodes. So we've all set up our own nodes of a blockchain. So you know what it means. So a node can be full, light, or archive. So an archival node is usually keeping old transactions as records. A light node would have maybe some transactions, and a full node would have all the transactions on it. And anybody can run any of these nodes. On top of that, we have client APIs. So we've already seen what APIs look like. And tomorrow we have an interesting guest speaker from Theta. And they are building this really nice platform where multiple blockchain APIs are available through one platform. So that would be the APIs. And then on top of that, we have end user applications. So when you look at this MetaMask, it could be considered as a dApp, as an end user app here. And this would connect through the API layer to the blockchain nodes and try to get us information about various tokens that are on it. Yes, Dave, you have a question? Dave, I can see you raised your hand. Do you have a question?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't know I was muted. I just unmute myself. So before we go further, I like to ask, I can see that the COF protocol, which is running on the mainnet blockchain, is actually built on different blockchain. I can see Polygon, I can see Ethereum, and I can see some other ones.
Here, these are the ones you're talking about?
No, not this, not when you talked about when you went to DeFi.
Oh, DeFi Llama?
DeFi Llama.
Talking about DeFi Llama. Yeah, sure.
Yes.
This one. You're talking about this one? I'm not able to hear you.
Yes. Then go to protocol.
This one?
Yes, no, not, yeah, exactly. Yes. So this is what I'm talking about. The CORF protocol, which is running on the which is running on the Ethereum blockchain. It currently it has many chain. The CORF protocol is running
It
on.
runs on multiple blockchains. So if you go a little deeper, so what is Curve? It's a decentralized exchange and a liquidity protocol. Now that is running across multiple blockchains. Not that they're connected to each other, but Curve separately is running on multiple blockchains. So it also runs on Harmony and it also runs on Avalanche, for example. So just like Theta, who issues the US dollar stablecoin, they started with Ethereum, but today they make it available on multiple platforms, including Tron. And if I want to actually do a transaction, it is cheaper to do it on Tron rather than doing it on another blockchain, like Ethereum, for example. So because of transaction costs and because different people like to use different blockchains, popular protocols go across multiple blockchains, but they're not connected to each other. They are independently running on different blockchains. Do you get that?
Yes, yes. I think opening this new page actually gave me an insight into the question I was trying to find out. I was trying to ask if the total value locked in assets, if it's only for Ethereum, but
No, it's on separate. So all put together becomes 22 bit. Yeah. So individually, this is how it is in different. Now let's head back here. So we've seen the stack. Then there are client softwares which can be used. So you may have heard about Get. It's quite a popular one. It's okay if you've not heard of any of them, doesn't matter. And then we have something called ETH2, right? So here we are talking about the next version of Ethereum, which is coming in stages, where we are talking about Beacon Chain, which has gone live, and then Mainnet and Beacon Chain will merge, which is expected to happen sometime next year. And then shard chains, where you kind of break Ethereum into 64 chains to basically speed up transactions and try to reduce your cost. So this mind map would kind of give you an overview of what is happening. And when we talk about scaling of the blockchain, so one is we do on-chain scaling, which is through sharding, where it's kind of like breaking it up into multiple chains. And off-chain is where things like Polygon come into the picture. These are layer 2 solutions. So roll-up, state channels, new chains, side chains, there are various solutions. And all of these are working towards making Ethereum more scalable. So the problem with older blockchains like Ethereum is fundamentally they are very slow. So let me show you some statistics, right? Now, yeah, so here you'll be able to see statistics. Can you see what is the transactional throughput of Bitcoin? Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Yes. So it's 7 transactions per second, Ethereum 14, Polkadot 1500, and Avalanche 4500. So we begin to realize that, okay, Bitcoin and Ethereum, because they are the earlier generations, they have limitations in technology, because of which, first of all, they're really slow. Second of all, the transactional finality is also higher. Now, let me ask you a question. Why do we say 60 minutes in Bitcoin? Do you remember? We've discussed this in detail before. Anyone remembers?
Yes. Is it the time it takes to confirm?
So one block was 10 minutes. Why is it saying
yes.
60 minutes here?
Because it needs 6 blocks.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
blocks.
You remember I told you 6 confirmations? So that is why on Bitcoin, a transaction is considered final after about 60 minutes. On Ethereum, 6 minutes. Polkadot, 60 seconds. And Avalanche, less than 2 seconds. So here we can start to see the comparisons that when we are evaluating which blockchain to use for our use case, one of the things that we could see is transactional throughput, transactional finality, energy may come into the picture, but the validators and all doesn't really matter more to us because that's more to do with the decentralization. That may not even matter to us. We can also compare it based on the consensus mechanism that they're using. Yeah, Dave, you have a question? And Dinesh, you have a question?
Yeah. Rose, could you go back to the mind map, please? If you, yeah, thank you. So, Rose, what I understand is the Ethereum is the protocol, and the mainnet is the actual blockchain, right? Okay.
The production blockchain.
Production blockchain, yes. And on the right side, all these DeFi solutions, right? So, do they all share the same blockchain? And how
Yes.
are they?
They all are on Ethereum mainnet.
But how do they not then? So do they run on a different port? All of these?
No, see, these Okay, so I was earlier talking to that the blockchains are not interoperable with each other. So which means an Ethereum blockchain as of today, we are not able to, okay, let me give you an example to explain what I'm trying to say. You remember Uniswap?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, now what does Uniswap allow us to do? Okay, it allows us to automatically do swapping between Ethereum tokens here. Okay, but here when I try to do it between two, I can see only Ethereum tokens. I will not be able to do it against Bitcoin because that runs on a separate blockchain. So what I'm saying is today blockchains are not interoperable with each other yet. But if multiple things are running on the same blockchain, they can definitely interact with each other. Does it answer your question?
It does, yeah. But let's say, sorry, if you go back to the mind map, please.
Sure, and I'm also just opening up this thing in the back. Yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, if I have done a transaction, let's say on the MakerDAO, right? So that means okay, the transactions are logged in the ledger, okay, on the mainnet.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's
so yeah, and someone doing a transaction on the curve, again, those transactions are logged into on the ledger, right? So how do the ledgers separate each other?
It's not necessary that everything would be visible to you on the ledger because see, the ledger is basically for ETH.
Right.
But the other things we are doing are kind of like contracts running on Ethereum. So let me give you an example. If you go into MetaMask again, okay. Now, when you look here, you can see ETH and then you can see something called D, something called ROHAS1. These are tokens. Okay. Now, they may have their own transactions which are happening. And then monitoring those is a little different from monitoring ETH transactions. But I don't want to go to that yet. We will go deeper into it a little later.
All right. Clear. Thank you.
So like I'm able to run something called ROHAS1 or something called D. Similarly, I could run CRV as a token or BAT as a token here. And now some amount of interoperability has started between Bitcoin and Monero blockchains, but it's still at a very early stage. Soon, I expect to see in the future, a lot of more blockchains would be able to talk to each other. But again, you know what? It's not necessary for hundreds of blockchains to talk to each other because they may not even last that long. Yeah, Pratik, you have a question?
Yes, Rohas. So you mentioned Ethereum is a protocol. So what would be the Bitcoin equivalent of that? So is Bitcoin?
Bitcoin is also actually, okay, so Bitcoin is used again for multiple things. You remember when we set up multi-chain, I told you that there are two protocols which can be set up, one called multi-chain, one called Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And if we had set it up using multi-chain protocol, that's why we were having a permissioned blockchain. But at the time of setting up, if we had said that the protocol we want to use is Bitcoin, it would have become a permissionless blockchain, where every node would have the same power and no admin would exist. So again, Bitcoin is also a protocol. Bitcoin is also a name of a blockchain, and Bitcoin is also a crypto.
Okay. So in this case, that means Ethereum is a protocol, and on the right hand side, the DeFi platforms, these are more like use cases which have implemented Ethereum
you can
protocol
say
in a certain way.
Absolutely. And what is the native token of Ethereum? It's Ether.
ETH.
ETH is Ether. A lot of people say it's Ethereum. No, it's Ether.
Okay.
So protocol, blockchains, crypto is ETH. All clear?
Yes, thank you.
So now, depending upon what we want to do, yeah, Mohit, tell me.
Yeah, hi, Rohas. Rohas, one question here. Is there any correlation between the total value logged and proof of stake? How do we understand the two things together?
Totally different.
Okay.
So when we talk about proof of stake, it's that you have a certain number of tokens which are being locked. And then you are getting the right to validate transactions and you get some free tokens back as a reward. Total value locked, when we are talking about what are the assets and all the different assets running on this thing and what is the total value of those. So they're slightly different. So a wrapped Bitcoin would come under TVL, but ETH being staked would not come under.
Okay, got it.
Now we could, Now we could download Ethereum protocol and run it on our own private blockchain. Nobody in the world is stopping us. These are all open source platforms. So if I like Ethereum and it makes sense to me, I could say I'm going to run my own version. So I will download the software and set up my own blockchain, just like you did with multi-chain. You can do the exact same thing with Ethereum. And then between a group of organizations, you can run your own Ethereum, so to say, because it's ultimately just a software, right? Is that clear? Any questions? Yes, no?
Raz, there's a question here.
Yeah, come in.
So my question is, if you are running your own software, is it not expensive? Because you know the proof
Yes,
of stake.
it will definitely bring in cost, but then your transaction fee is zero. And secondly, you can control who uses it. So for example, when I go to the Ethereum blockchain and do work, I cannot stop anyone from coming there. Anybody in the world can come and create tokens and do whatever they want. But suppose I have a use case where a few group of companies want to do business between themselves and they don't want anyone else in the world coming. Then they would use Ethereum, just like we used multi-chain. Another option is Ethereum. All the popular blockchains are open source. So we could use any of them.
Okay, now what it means is, sorry, let me try to understand this now. What it means is it the same thing with the enterprise Ethereum?
Yeah, that's what it
running
is.
Okay.
So
okay.
that's what it is. You could have a bunch of organizations who decide to run it on their own. So you could fork anything. You could even fork Bitcoin and run whatever you want, you could do. It's all open source. Clear?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
but then
very
what
clear.
I wanted
Thanks.
to find out is, since Ethereum has not gone to the Ethereum 2.0, it's still using the proof of work. So
it hasn't gone to 2.0 yet. We expect it to go to
Yes.
2.0 next year. And then it will move to proof of work. Sorry, proof of stake.
yes, proof of stake. Yeah. So since it's proof of work, it means a lot of energy will be spent,
Yes,
right?
it
That's
is.
my understanding.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
But
Okay, thank you.
now later I want you to go through the Ethereum website. It's everything that you need to know is here, arranged very nicely. So from a developer point of view, you could look at the documentation and understand what are the different programming languages that are supported. This learn by coding is really nice. So you can, create simple contracts, smart contracts, see how they work. They've got a nice learn platform also where you can understand everything about it. So it's very important for all of you to know how Ethereum works, because it is still the most popular DeFi platform, and it's probably going to be there for a very long time. So I want all of you to know it, so that whenever you are developing a use case for a client, you should be able to know which blockchain to use. When should you use a multi-chain versus when you should use an Ethereum? You will only be able to answer that question when you know what Ethereum does, and then compared to what the others do. And then you will know, okay, depending upon my use case, this is the right one that I would use. So for example, if a client comes to you and says, okay, we have a small internal group and we want to run one smart asset, it doesn't make sense for them to use Ethereum. They'd rather use multi-chain, which will be much simpler to use. But if they say, no, we have a lot of smart contracts and we need connectivity to Oracle networks, then you would recommend them to use Ethereum public blockchain. So it's important for all of you. Some of the blockchains that I'm going to talk about today, later as homework, I want you to go through their websites and understand how that particular blockchain functions. So for example, if you look at Avalanche, so I think it's the number 4 ranked DeFi platform, and it's doing pretty well. So Avalanche allows us to spin up our own public and private blockchain in a much simpler fashion. We won't be able to do that in Ethereum. In Ethereum, we will have to download the code and run it separately, whereas Avalanche will give you the facility out of the box to run your own private and public blockchain. But a Solana won't do that. Now, why do I like Solana? Because it's extremely cheap and extremely easy to use. So I could start doing stuff on Solana. And again, I can understand. So when I look at its network, when I look at the kind of things that have already been developed on it, it gives me an idea about what use cases actually make sense there. So if you just scroll down a bit, you'll be able to see a lot of developer resources. You'll be able to see what are the different projects that are already being built on it. So a Solana can be considered to be an alternative to Ethereum. So you may be hearing about this term called Ethereum killers. That's a term for blockchains which are doing similar things to what Ethereum does. And in future, they could even replace Ethereum. Today, they are far away, but you never know when they could catch up. So when we look at the DeFi platforms, we can see that the ones which are closer to, so here you can see some of them. So we can make out that, these are doing more or less the same thing. So there's a chance people may shift to the other platforms. Like, for example, I don't work on Ethereum anymore because it has become too expensive for me. So I today use number 2 and number 3. And now I'm beginning to explore using number 4 for some of the transactions. So these are quite replaceable. What you could do on Ethereum, almost everything you could do on Binance, Solana, and the others. And then, of course, you also have Polygon here at the bottom, which has its own chains also. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Yeah, yes, no, you can just.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Then
Rohit.
Solana is very good. Then there's Binance Smart Chain, which started a little before Solana. And again, it's pretty nice. It's part of the Binance ecosystem. So Binance is a centralized exchange, a decentralized exchange, and it has 2 blockchains, Binance Chain and the later one, Binance Smart Chain. And they do a lot of other things also. And it's pretty good, very, very cheap transactions, and it's pretty stable. I mean, I'm a big fan of Binance Smart Chain. So here you can go in, and then each of them will give you their white paper. So if you really want to know more about a project, have a look at its white paper. That's where the developers would have given you all the information that you need about that project. Then we have Polkadot. I'm sure many of you have heard about Polkadot. Yes, no?
Yes.
Yeah. So Polkadot's fairly new, and recently they just, like you can see here, they've launched Parachain. So how Polkadot works is a little different. At the base, there is a chain called Relay Chain. And then on top of it, there are multiple blockchains which can be connected, and those are called parachains or parallel chains. And recently they just finished their auction. So different people have bid and gotten certain parachains on which now they will start to make their use cases, right? So if you go through their site in a very simple language, you will begin to understand what is it that Polkadot does and how it's different. Then we have another very interesting project called Filecoin. So Filecoin is like the Airbnb for data. Today, if you use Airbnb and you have an extra room in your house, you can rent out that room for a day or two. Exactly in the same way, if you have extra storage capacity, then you could use Filecoin to rent that out on a daily, hourly kind of basis. But the data is not getting saved on Filecoin blockchain. That is external. Filecoin is running this crypto called FIL, which is what is used to pay and buy, buy and sell this storage space. So that's the use case on which it works. Is that clear? Yes, no? Yeah, someone can just type in a yes. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Just type in a yes. That's it. Then we have another very interesting project called Theta. Now that is doing something in the area of video streaming, and they want to kind of decentralize it. And if you realize, they've got a lot of very high-end partners. So one of the co-founders of YouTube is the guy who came out with the whole concept, and Google is a part of this. So these are the enterprises which are running validator nodes. So Google, Sony, Samsung, Binance, all the big guys are there as part. And Theta has 2 different cryptos, one called T-Fuel and one called Theta. And both of them then have their own, they have their own use cases. Theta requires 2 cryptos. So some blockchains do have 2 native cryptos also, both doing different things. Is that clear? All clear?
Yes.
Yep.
Then we have a very interesting project called Chiliz. Now, you must have heard about the term fan tokens, where you can buy tokens of football clubs. Have you ever heard of that?
Yep.
That's what Chiliz allows you to do. So CHZ is a crypto which you can buy in the real world on exchanges. Then you take it into the Socios platform or ecosystem. So they have their own app and everything. Once you go into the app, you are able to exchange that and buy tokens of different teams. So they have a different way. So it is not their publicly available token which corresponds to teams, because that would be kind of a little difficult to do, because then you would have to create so many different cryptos, one for each team. And in future, they may tie up with hundreds of football teams, for example. So they work in a different way, where CHZ is the publicly available crypto which fuels the Socios blockchain platform. And there you can go and buy tokens of different teams. So completely a very different architecture is being followed here. Is that clear? Then we have, you are not English. Just give me a second, I've got too many windows open. Chainlink, right? So I think we've talked about oracles before, and now Chainlink is not actually a blockchain. it is a network of Oracle providers. So this is the kind of data that a Chainlink would be providing you. So they can even give you sports data. And this is how you can write programs which will pull this data. So weather data, sports data, random, lots and lots of things they provide you. But they have a crypto called LINK. And if you are providing data, you get paid in LINK. And if you do something by giving bad data, then you can be made to pay a fine using it. So Link is the crypto which is being used, but they are not a blockchain. They are actually an ecosystem or a network of Oracle service providers. But they need their own crypto to run. Is that clear? Questions?
Rohas, one question here. Rohas, can anybody manipulate the data that is being sourced from Chainlink?
Well, so like I said, there are different providers there, and if your data is found to be bad, then you end up paying fines. So there is a monetary compensation you'll have to end up paying if you give bad data. But yeah, almost anybody can become an Oracle and you can feed wrong data, but then people will realize it and they will not subscribe to your data. So on multi-chain, there is a similar thing which we call as data streams. So that can be used. We don't need third-party oracles to do it. Anybody with a node on multi-chain can provide data in these data streams. So if we need some data for our multi-chain blockchain, then we would use streams to hold that data. Is that clear?
Sure.
Any other questions so far?
Yeah, Rohas, my question is, since Chainlink does not have its own blockchain and it's an oracle, can you explain how does it operate? What blockchain does it operate?
See,
I'm not getting that part clear.
Chainlink is not a blockchain because they only need to provide data. So if they are providing only data, they are a web service which can run and bring data into the blockchain or take it out. They don't need to be a blockchain themselves, but they need a crypto to handle the payments. Do you get that?
Yes, I get it.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions so far? So now let's take a hypothetical scenario. So when a client comes to us or when we are building our own blockchain, these are some of the very important questions that come up. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to ask some of you to speak and you're going to tell me what are the teams you've made and what is the use case that you are looking at. So can you all open up your video cameras so we can see each other? And then can a few teams talk to me and tell me what is it that they're going to be building? Who would like to start?
Hi there. I can start.
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah, our case is there are loyalty points for amateur recreational athletes that take part in sporting events.
And who's your partner?
Sorry, who's what?
Do you have other people in your team or are you doing it alone?
Yeah, we are 3 people in our team right now.
Who are the others? Can you just unmute your mic, your video camera, and just introduce yourself? Who's working on that project? Or you could just tell me their names.
I'm part of this team.
I don't think they're.
Oh, they're not here? Okay. No problem. So loyalty is the program that you've chosen. So now, can you briefly tell us what exactly you're going to do? So is your loyalty point going to be the single asset on your blockchain? Or are you going to allow all your clients to issue loyalty through different tokens on your blockchain?
No, actually, the project is has a dual token economy. We have one DeFi token, which is more for the project governance, and we have another which is it should be I guess a ERC20. It's the loyalty points. And those points are gonna be issued for each event organizer. Every time they have event finishers on their competitions, they can issue those tokens for them. And then athletes can later on use those tokens in exchange for discounts or services or eventually products.
Excellent. Very nice idea. Who would like to go next? No feeling shy here. Who's next? Come on. I'm sure all of you have projects in mind. Who's going to go next?
Yeah, so hi, Rohas. We are one of the group. We have been doing some ideation since last week. There are some funnel of 5 or 4 ideas, but unfortunately we could not huddle together, and to finalize one of the projects. The ideas are very, from pharma verification product to the tokenization of commodities, and there are some 2 more. So excuse me, but we could not huddle up. We'll huddle up by tomorrow. Hello?
I think we lost Rojas.
Okay.
Rojas, we can't hear you.
You have to come up with a name also, correct all the groups, what he told.
Sorry, Jayesh, you said something?
Yeah, so I remember he told all the groups to come up with their own name and some internal healthy competition or something he was talking about. So I think maybe within this group, we have to finalize and declare the names and start working.
Yeah, true that. But it's maybe a bit early to do that.
Yeah.
just like yours, we just finalized something, and there was just one idea in the group. We'll present that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm back. I had gotten disconnected.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah. So who's next? Yeah, Dave, have you made a team? I'm just going in order that I see you all here. Would Dave like to go next? Dave, you're on mute. You'll have to unmute yourself first.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I actually joined the team, but we've not been able to finalize what we are going to be working on.
Okay.
I think the last, is it Jassy? I think he's in my team, and Saga. So we're all working together.
So try to make sure that by tomorrow you have a project ready so that we can quickly move on that. Bhavna, what about you?
Yeah, Rohas, sir, you suggested that we can also work on your
Yes.
programs. So I was wondering if I could join in your IP wrapped asset.
So what I was recommending, you all could get together and do it on one of those.
Acha. Okay.
So yeah, because this is also going to become your final assessment for the course. Your exam is going to be based on that. So you all can make your own team and work on the projects which are there on the wrap token site also.
Okay.
Just make sure by tomorrow you do that. What about you, Osama? Do you have anything planned out? Pratik?
Yes, Rohas, we today came up with a use case. We would have loved Ashish to be here, but it's a group of Ashish, myself, Dinesh, Shailendra, and Pranjal.
Okay.
So we intend to tokenize the properties. So we want to create tokens based on the properties. The business objective here is sometimes you cannot liquidate the whole property, and the property developers might have to wait for a long time to get the returns coming.
Okay.
And so with this tokenization, we intend to we plan to get the returns early in the cycle.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are planning to price it with some against a stable coin, so that it can be traded on the blockchain.
Interesting. That's a nice idea. Who's working along with it on you?
So this is primarily the idea from Ashish Sharma, and so it's going to be Dinesh, myself, Shailendra, and Pranjal.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Who would like to go next? So Dinesh, I think you're already part of this team. What about some of the names I can't pronounce clearly, so I don't want to get your names wrong, but would anyone else like to explain what they're going to do?
Hi, Rose. Sparsh here.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm kind of a late bloomer, so
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to discuss with people in the group, because I'm still covering up for the missed sessions. But the idea I want to work on is quantifying social impact.
Okay.
And essentially making sure that the efforts are not just quantified but incentivized.
Awesome. That sounds very interesting.
Yeah. So it's a very nascent stage right now, but this would be my focus.
Awesome. It's a very interesting idea. Who else is working with you on this?
I haven't approached anyone as of now.
Okay.
It's just me who's.
Okay. So the others who've heard this or later when you go through this video, and if you like his idea, you can reach out to Sparsh for that.
Thank you.
Pratik, Dinesh, Osama, you've already spoken. How do you pronounce D-U-S-A-N? How do I pronounce your name? Okay. Sargam, Abhimanyu, would you guys like to talk about what you're working on?
Sorry, I've got just switched off microphone. Dushan is my name.
Dushan. Okay.
I'm sorry, I've got no time. I was just thinking about the possibility projects which probably my company will be involved in. And this is something also linked to loyalty programs, but no, especially like full NFT markets, but more to link to smart city or to some holiday resorts.
Okay.
I didn't find anybody, so I have asked Leo just now to have possibility to work with him on his, because this is like closest project on loyalty.
Okay, that's a nice idea. Good. Anybody else?
Hi, Rojas. This is Carlos.
Hi, Carlos. Tell me.
Hi. I'm falling a bit behind on the schedule. I haven't had the chance to basically talk to anyone about the project, but something that I would like to do, because it is also that's something that I'm being involved or want to basically do in the future, is launch an NFT collection, like the classical 10,000 items, unique items.
Okay.
That could also be, and the idea also is that if it happens and it goes well, it could become a gift for all the members on this course.
Oh, that's so nice of you.
So
he's going to gift us all NFTs. That's nice.
Yes. That's the idea. I haven't got anyone to work with me, so if anyone is interested, please reach out, and we're gonna start working.
Awesome. That's nice. Anybody else? What about you, Sargam? What have you decided to do?
Rohis, I'm with Dave and a couple of others. So
Okay.
we're still considering multiple ideas.
Okay.
We will get back to you on this by tomorrow.
Awesome. Perfect. Abhimanyu, what about you? Abhimanyu, you're on mute.
Yeah. So I'm running behind. I couldn't attend the last class because I was traveling. So I plan to basically do whatever the recover basically sometime tomorrow. And maybe then I will have to join one of these guys or figure out what I'm going to do. But right now, I don't think I have any specific idea.
Okay, I get that. So you can reach out to the others and try to finalize something by tomorrow. Sure.
Yep, I'll do.
Awesome. There's somebody called Crocodile. So I don't know your real name since it says Crocodile here. What are you working on?
Yes, Rojas. So what I'm thinking is to make a use case which can bridge all the tokens that other teams make. So basically, it won't be very seamless because we can't write a smart contract yet. But the idea is to bond the token. For example, there is a token for team A and there's a token for team B, right? So if team A and team B want to exchange their token or use their token in one platform, use both of their token in one platform, then they can bond their token in their own blockchain, and the equivalent amount of tokens will be released in my blockchain, and they can use like that. So it won't be very simple.
So you're basically talking about wrapped versions of their tokens being released. And yes, because it is on a different blockchain, obviously it will not be seamless. But yeah, that's a good idea. So you'll work with all the other teams and do it. Very nice. That's a very nice idea. Who else is doing that with you?
So at the moment, I don't have anybody, but I guess I will have someone in the future.
Okay. What about you, Mohit?
Hi, Rohas. We are planning to work towards tokenization of commodities. I'm working with Ashish and Jayesh on that idea. So still we are in ideation stage, as Jayesh mentioned, but we'll get back to you tomorrow.
Okay. And what about you, Karen? Have you already spoken about it or not yet? Okay. Great. So, I mean, most of you are working in that direction. Now I'll briefly tell you, I gave you homework last week. Have you all done it on those different multi-chain parameters and how we could use the tutorials? Have all of you done that?
Yes, I work on it.
So any questions on that? Any problems that you faced?
I have one question, please, Ross. I created the two nodes, one node on Digital Ocean, and the second node on my laptop, which is operating system is Windows. And I started to connect the two nodes, and before connection, I give the grant of connect and send and receive, and started to create assets on the first server, Digital Ocean. With quantity, for example, 1,000 of quantity unit, and they started to give to the address of the node to the assets. And when I started to the first node to list the assets, I found that, for example, I give 200 quantity to the next the second node. When I listed the assets of the first node, I found that become 800, and when I'm going to list assets on the second node, I didn't find any assets, unfortunately.
That's quite strange, but I have a question. When you set it up on your laptop, what was the IP address? Is that a static IP address or a dynamic IP address?
No, not dynamic. Once I created the multi-chain, he gave me the node address, and I started to connect from my laptop.
Both the nodes are communicating with each other without any problem?
Yes. There is a problem when I started to connect from my laptop, from Digital Ocean to my laptop. I think there is something on firewall access for incoming connection.
I'm also presuming it is something to do with access. So Digital Ocean, the ports are all open, but maybe on your laptop there is something which is blocking it. I'm guessing that's the problem.
But there is no issue regarding the confirmation time. It may take time, for example, if there is not unconfirmed yet, so it's not appeared on the second.
It shouldn't take more than 10-15 seconds. So,
only 15 seconds. Yeah. So no, there is maybe a connection issue. Okay.
There's a connection issue.
Okay.
Anybody else is facing? Most welcome. Anyone else is facing any problems? Any questions? That homework is really important. You have to do it because otherwise you won't be able to move ahead to build the final solution. Now, please make sure you do that homework. And then today's homework is those few blockchains that we spoke about. I want you to understand a little bit more about them. So there are two ways you can do that. Let me just share my screen again. So what I usually do is, right? So on Instagram, I make small carousels for different blockchains. So you can just go through that and it'll give you an idea about how those blockchains work. If you don't want to go through the website, let me just show you one example. Give me a second. Where are they all vanished? So suppose we say Theta. So you could go through these few pages. It'll explain to you what the Theta blockchain does. And it'll even explain to you about the token, why it has two and what do those two tokens do. So one option I can give you is you can just go through my Instagram feed, and I've made it already for about 8 or 10 different blockchains. You can go through them. Otherwise, you can go through the websites and kind of get an idea about how different blockchains are functioning, because then that'll make it clearer for you that depending upon use cases, what are the various options that are available to us. Is that part clear? Any questions? I hope I'm audible to you guys.
No, it's clear. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. So today I just wanted to briefly give you this overview. Tomorrow we are going to have a guest speaker from Tatum. Their CTO is going to be speaking to you, and he's going to be explaining to you about how Tatum really works. I'll just give you a very brief introduction. So Tatum provides a very nice development platform, and they've already connected to about 40 blockchain protocols. So that means you don't have to individually go and learn different APIs of them. You can straight away do it from the Tatum network. So tomorrow, don't worry if you don't know any about this. He's going to start with the basics, and he's going to explain to us what really Tatum is and how it works and how you all can use it. But it is important that you go through all the popular blockchains that are there. I will make a list and I'll put that as part of the homework. So make sure you do both the homeworks by tomorrow. You really need to take out time to do it, because otherwise now we are moving on to more advanced topics. So when we move on to advanced topics, if your fundamentals are not clear, you won't be able to really handle those. So I really need you guys to make your teams, finalize your project, finish last week's homework and finish today's homework by tomorrow evening. Is that okay? Any questions?
Yeah. So Rohas, one question on the DeFi Llama. Under Ethereum and blockchain, there are protocols mentioned. What 300 and are these protocols?
This one. So Curve, for example, is one of those protocols. The Curve, which we spoke about, this one. So this is a decentralized exchange. So each of these projects is called as a protocol.
Okay.
So there are about 315 popular protocols which they are mapping. And that is what gives us that total number of 170 odd billion dollars. And then similarly, you can see the numbers going down. So even though in Binance, the number is 182, which is not even half, but the TVL is very low in comparison. So obviously that means the projects on Binance don't have that much of assets locked in or that much of value locked in. Is that
so
clear?
These are these may be the DeFi protocol. These are DeFi projects also.
These are chains. So this, what you see are the chains, as in the public blockchains. And these are the projects running inside them.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else?
Yes, Rohas, I have a question.
Yeah.
In the last class, we were talking about API using Oracle, where we can get the data from about weather or insurance. So how does it work? Does every node pulls data from Oracle, or only the node which has the
actually, the node needn't come into the picture. Your application will pull it. Your dApp will pull it.
Oh, okay.
And later I'm going to show you, we'll go a little deeper into how Future Money Wallet works. So I'll show you where the API layer is being integrated. And tomorrow, Tatum will also take you through a deeper dive. So this concept will become clear to you by tomorrow.
Sure. I have one more question in terms of the expectations from the assignment. You know, it's going to be not going to be possible to implement the pricing and everything.
No. All that is not needed. We basically need a proof of concept up and running. So if you say that you are doing loyalty, you have a small idea about what it's going to be, then you have a blockchain which is doing all that. You don't have to build a UI. You could just show it to me on the command line. But I need to see that you've understood what your use case is and you figured out how to implement it. But it's a proof of concept only.
So for example, we want to issue tokens against property. Okay. Now, how do we price against any other currency? We don't know that. And
that's why you can just take any figure. So what you could do is you could take some random document of relating to property or any random PDF. Okay, that could be hosted anywhere in the world. But in your blockchain, when you create an asset out of that real estate, you would put the URL there as proof. Legal document, this is the URL. So you have to know how to build the asset and what metadata should be there. So this would come into your metadata. So I want to see that you understood how to do all that.
Okay. So the metadata which we're showing as a part of issue from the. Okay, understood. Thank you.
And then now let's suppose there is a transaction which happens in your token. So you made a real estate. So you made one token and you divided that real estate into, let's say, 10,000 coins. Now 50 of those coins are being transferred to someone else. And for that, there is a legal agreement. So again, I want to see whether you understood how to put a metadata when you do a transfer. So one is a metadata when you create, another is when you transfer.
Okay.
And then the third way, you could say that, okay, you know what, can we allow two different people to swap two different properties? So 10 coins of a Dubai property being swapped for 3 coins of a US property, for example. So then you'll have to show me how you did that using multi-chain, the swapping or the atomic swap, which is why the homework becomes important. Is that clear?
Okay.
See, the more you build into your assignment, the more the concept for you is clearer.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's what I want. I want that after this course, when you are faced with a real world case or a real world example, you should be able to build it up.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Thank
Other
you.
questions? Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, Rohas, I want to say that anybody in the group who's interested in wrapped IP asset, because I tried with the group, nobody has responded as of now. So
Okay.
anybody who's listening into this video later on, maybe they are not there in the WhatsApp group, so they can connect with me.
You can also put it on the LinkedIn group because that everyone is a part of.
Okay. Yeah,
You
yeah.
put it there. Yeah, you can do that.
I can do that. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions? Okay, great. So I'm hoping that now once you finish your homework, tomorrow we'll start at the same time and the guest speaker comes at 7:30. So before that, I'll take whatever questions you have, whatever problems you face. So please make sure you have done all the homework and you've gone through the basics of these blockchains that I've just mentioned to you, so that if you have doubts, we can take them also tomorrow. Is that clear?
Yes, Rohas. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
I'll see you guys tomorrow, .7. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.